Thank you. Thanks, Andy. I think we can move on from my grinning mug there very quickly. So I run WeTrack. We make planning, operations, readiness, and now sustainability tracking software for sports events and venues. So I'm going to explain a little bit about that now. Just to start with, this is not meant as a sales pitch, right? It might come across that way a little bit, but all I'm going to do is talk to you a little bit about the company for some context, and then we'll just have a look at what we're building, because it's new, and I mean sustainability in the widest possible sense, not just environmental. So this is where we are as a company. We have four main sections of what we do. We have a planning system, which is really project management, risk management, milestones, all that sort of thing. Then we have the sustainability. Again, it's really a performance tracking system, so you can put anything in there. But I'll come back to that. That'll be the main point of this. We have a readiness system, which is used by the IOC for technology rehearsals and Commonwealth Games and other major events. And then we have our operations software, which is around control room, incident management, make sure things are operating on site as they should be. Some of our clients, so we're pretty international now, a lot in major events, international federations and others as well. Right, so this is the main bit now. So this is new. This is very, very new. It's new to all of us, sustainability and what we're doing. So we're trying to build some software to help that. Now, we're not sustainability experts, and we don't claim to be, but we're quite good at making software to help track things. So that's what we set out to do. There are probably easier ways for us to make revenue than trying to do this, because everyone's so different. Trying to make a system that can incorporate that across sports events and venues is quite tricky, but this is what we're going for, and I'd really like any feedback, any thoughts, either now or later on, because we very much see this as a collaborative build. So this is what you're aiming to get to. This is a dashboard of how we're doing for our indicators. Again, we don't set what these indicators are. They can be anything. And you can have some things, obviously, carbon, plastic use, but we also want to have in there diversity and other indicators, even things like, have we reviewed our annual disability employment policy? We want to try and capture the full range of stuff in here. But the idea being, if you look up, I can use a laser, I think. There we go. On the left, so we have our indicators, and this is trying to give a dashboard simplified view to probably senior management and others for, okay, how many indicators have we got? How are they tracking? Throughout the whole of WeTrack, we heavily use this red, amber, green type system. So it's very visual on how things are going, what's going well, what's not. Now, to get to there, and these are slightly old screenshots actually, but the backbone of the system is to set up indicators. And again, don't look too much at the actual detail on here, but they can be anything. And you can build an indicator into the system and say, right, this is something that we need to track for the next 5 years, for the next 10 years. It may be something that you update once a week or once a year. So we're trying to incorporate all of that into the system. But the idea is you set those things that you want to capture, measure, and how long do you want to do that for, and how often you want to update them. So then this is looking at an indicator in a bit more detail. Now, this one's a very data-driven one, but we do have others which are just pass-fail rather than actual data collection. And this is the bit that a lot of people struggle with, thinking, how am I going to get this data? That is undoubtedly a tough bit, but if you just start doing something, get that baseline in there, and you bed that into the way that you work, you're going to get better and better in how you improve that. So don't be afraid to just start. So here what we've got, let's use a laser again, is we've got we've put in here, can you see a bronze, a silver, and a gold line at the top? Those are targets that we've set ourselves. Now, this isn't mandatory in the system, but I always think it's better if you have a goal that you're aiming for rather than just track it endlessly. So we can say, right, for this particular thing that we're doing, we want to hit this bronze level by that date, that silver, and then that gold by that date. What the system will then do is look at what the expected values are to be with that blue line. So it calculates what your expected values are on a linear basis to achieve that target by that date that you set. So then you do the updates through the system, and in future there'll be APIs trying to pull stuff through where it can from other sources. But the idea is that you see the green line there is green because we're better than expected. If it dips below, it will go amber, and if it's less than And if it's more than 10% off your expected values, it'll be red. So that's how our basic system of traffic light works within the system. The order of these slides is a bit odd, so I'm going to jump around a bit. But yeah, these are some of the things. Obviously, we're a reporting system, so it's mostly around reporting, trying to aggregate information and then report back to it for others so that they can then make informed decisions to improve stuff. That's really what we're about across all of our systems. So that's on a basic, one-to-one level. The complexity for our industry is around, when you have multiple events or multiple venues, is setting a load of indicators for those and then allowing each one of those particular events or venues to just see and update their own, but then the governing body or whoever it is to be able to aggregate that across. So this is just a mock-up of this next phase that we're building.
Don't move that slide. I want to take a picture of that.
Okay. We've actually got a couple of proposals in for Premiership Rugby and others as well. So this, you can see the numbers here, 1 to 14 in this case. This could be 14 events you have in your portfolio, it could be 14 venues, or it could be 14 clubs within a league. It doesn't really matter to the system. But the idea is that you set what those common indicators are for all of those. They can obviously add and subtract them, make them relevant to each. Then each one of those numbers would only see and update their own indicators in the previous slides that I showed. But then the governing body or the league or whoever it is starts to get the metrics on the left for how we're doing. Then they can interrogate that data and go either per club or per indicator and see who's tracking against it, who's not, and just try and gather some of that information again. So then the other part for that, I said about those targets. When you hit those targets, they turn into achievements. So this is the gamification, the badging bit in there. And I think that's important to celebrate success. It's a big, scary topic, and you're in danger of constant self-flagellation if we don't achieve the things that we do improve. So that's where this has been designed for. Now you'll be able to upload all your own artwork and things into here, but this could be, as an achievement for contractors, for host city. It could be for anyone who's involved in your event or sport that you want to recognize their achievements. This is where that badging system can come in. We also think it's going to be important for commercial partners. So you could set with your commercial partners a whole list of targets over the next 5 years, and then you can have that as basically your KPI performance tracking back to them and going, look, we've hit those targets that we set ourselves 4 years ago, and it helps with the renewal of that contract and other parts as well. Yeah, things to note. This is new, but all of us, we're definitely developing this quickly. We've got a team on it full time now and taking a lot of feedback from other organizations that we're talking to. Again, I'd love your feedback on it. Yeah, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Things will improve, just start. And I think that's the message which has come out a lot over the last day or two. Yeah, if you want any more information, please email me. How long have I got?
You've got 5 minutes.
Yeah, cool. A few. Yeah, I'm just going to go through the rest of this. I can't remember what's on here. Things to do, record what you can. That came out yesterday as well in the sustainability chats there. Have someone dedicated to it. Try and automate things where you can, so that it doesn't just get lumped in one person's desk and go, right, you're in charge of sustainability now, off you go. You need to try and make it part of practice of your whole company, and how the organization works. And think long term, for sure. This is just some other things that we think are quite useful about it. In particular, I think this one around regulation is coming very, very quickly. So I think they're going to be forced to do it as well as voluntarily to do it. So it's the right thing to do, but I think it will become legal requirement to do very, very quickly in various different sectors. But the other benefits of the system, if any of you do ISO stuff, we actually use our own system for our ISO 27001 certification, because you can link our project management system and the risks back to the indicators. So you can create risks and have action steps and try and pull the whole thing together to be a bit more comprehensive. Now, that might seem overwhelming to start with, but it's a system that people can grow into, certainly as the complexity rises. I think that's it. So I don't know if anyone had any questions or thoughts. Otherwise, I will be around for today and tomorrow too.
Come on, somebody must have a question. I've got a question, Pete.
Yeah.
So basically, we talk about sustainability, and you're monitoring what sustainability is. Can you break that down? What are the constituent parts that make up that umbrella of sustainability? What should people be looking at most closely in a hierarchical way, ideally?
Yeah, so we use that term across the full gambit, and we're not going to dictate what those indicators are. They can be anything. Actually, the system will work really, really well for legacy. You know, you could set up targets for how many 15-year-olds are playing sport in the city 2, 5, 10 years after the games. So we will let that be determined by the client. But you can link things to all the UN SDGs, so that's a good place to start. Some of you might know the work ASWAF have been doing, Ian Edmondson, who's around, for the common indicators in their report. That's a good place to start. In fact, Ian set up a bit of a demo site looking at those specifically. So it really varies by organisation, but we won't tell them what that is necessarily, at least not yet.
Any other questions? There we go. Wait for the mic if you'd be so kind, and just introduce yourself and where you're from.
Hi, thanks for the talk. Dieter Kastelein from Greener Power Solutions from the Netherlands. My question is, how do you track or how do you calculate your the savings that you then monitor? Do you have formulas for that, or do you document them somehow?
Yeah, so savings is in financial savings or savings for anything?
Or carbon emissions? Or
Yeah, so at the moment, that's not part of the system. We're not a carbon calculation tool, anything like that. You know, there's a few of those out there. We sit in that layer above it. So for the moment, it's all manual entry or data import through CSV. That will be changing. And some things we'll be able to automate. You know, if you've got, you know, gas and electricity consumption at your venue, that's pretty easy to automate and flip the API to it. So if you've got other things that are pass-fail, you know, that you have to review internally, it's going to be impossible to do that. So it's a bit of a mix, is the answer.
Great. Thanks, Peter.